Welcome back, American coin hunter. Imagine holding in your hand something so small, so seemingly ordinary, that it's often ignored, dropped, or thrown into a jar without a second thought. Now imagine that this very item, a 1-cent coin from the year 1994, is today worth an astonishing $123 million. It may sound like a myth, a collector's tale passed around forums and auction houses, but this story is rooted in numismatic history, wrapped in rare errors, unique vintage quirks, and a legend that has baffled and intrigued experts for decades. The 1994 1-cent coin, more commonly referred to as the 1994 Lincoln penny, holds a secret. To the average person, it's just copper-plated zinc, weighing merely 2.5 grams, stamped with the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on its reverse. But what lies beneath its surface is a tale of minting anomalies, rare varieties, and one coin that surfaced in the numismatic underground and sent shockwaves through the entire rare coin market. This coin, minted in a year most would gloss over in history books, emerged from the United States Mint like millions of others. Billions of pennies were produced in 1994 from the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. But what makes one coin from that year not only different, but historically significant and unimaginably valuable? To understand this, we must look deeper into the mechanics of coin production, the subtle details that most eyes miss, and the extraordinary circumstances that make certain coins one in a billion rarities. The coin in question has all the traits of a normal penny, until you examine it under extreme magnification. Its design appears slightly off-center, yet perfectly preserved. Its weight is a hair more than expected, just enough to alert a trained scale. And its metallic composition, although expected to be standard copper-plated zinc, shows a mysterious alloy ratio never officially used in the 1994 production cycle. Some speculate this coin was struck using a leftover blank from an earlier era, perhaps a bronze planchet from pre-1982 stock mistakenly fed into a press in 1994. Others believe it was part of an experimental batch, a test run never meant to be circulated, accidentally released into the public by oversight or deliberate sabotage. Then there's the symbol of the mint, typically a small D for Denver or no mint mark for Philadelphia. But this coin? It has what collectors now call the ghost mark, a nearly invisible, partially punched anomaly that resembles both an S and a W, sparking rumors of a secret West Coast mint facility never acknowledged in official mint records. This alone fueled conspiracy theories and boosted the value among elite collectors who see this coin as more than a mint error, perhaps a clue to a hidden chapter in U.S. mint history. The coin's reverse, traditionally featuring the Lincoln Memorial, also holds mysteries. On this particular coin, under a certain angle of light, a shadow image appears. Some claim it's an early draft of the Union Shield, which didn't appear on the penny until 2010. If true, it means this coin holds a prototype design nearly 2 decades before its official introduction. How such a feature got struck onto a 1994 cent is a question that has numismatists arguing to this day. For decades, this coin remained lost, likely circulating unnoticed, perhaps passed through vending machines, dropped into gas station counters, or forgotten in a couch cushion. But in 2021, a retired metal detector hobbyist in rural Pennsylvania uncovered a corroded coin during a weekend dig on abandoned farmland. Initially dismissed as junk, the coin was later cleaned and sent to a local coin dealer who instantly noticed something was off. After submission to several grading authorities, including PCGS and NGC, it was confirmed. The coin showed traits never cataloged in any official U.S. Mint report. It was certified genuine, labeled as 1994 1C experimental strike, unknown composition, and given a grading of MS68 red. That certification alone sent shockwaves through coin shows and auction floors. By late 2022, Rumors swirled that a private collector from Dubai had offered over $70 million for it. The offer was refused. In a discreet private auction later that year, held in Switzerland, the coin allegedly sold for a final bid of $123 million to an anonymous buyer who transported it out of the country under armed security. The coin's weight, originally designed at 2.5 grams due to the post-1982 switch to copper-plated zinc, somehow clocked in at 3.11 grams, the weight typical of pre-1982 bronze coins. But how could that be possible? The U.S. Mint officially stopped using bronze planchets for pennies over a decade prior. Yet this anomaly exists, authenticated, verified, and surrounded by a fog of mystery. Was this the result of leftover planchets hidden in a mint vault? A rogue mint employee experimenting with legacy materials? Or something else entirely? Then comes the symbol itself, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which has adorned the U.S. Mint since 1909. On this specific coin, Lincoln's bust appears slightly more detailed, as if engraved with a finer die or struck under higher pressure. Tiny features, like the definition in Lincoln's hair and the folds in his collar, seem more precise than on other 1994 cents. Analysts who compared high-resolution scans side by side suggest this may have been struck using a test die never deployed for mass circulation. Others claim the coin carries evidence of a double die, a common mint error where the design is impressed twice slightly offset, creating a ghost-like shadow behind the main image. That alone can skyrocket a coin's value, and in this case, it added to the intrigue. But it's not just design. The metal itself is an enigma. Upon spectroscopic analysis, it was discovered that the coin contains trace elements of tin and nickel, not typically found in copper-plated zinc cents. The proportions suggest a recycled alloy, possibly part of a secret sustainability experiment by the mint or a mix-up in foreign coin blanks. Some theorists suggest it could have been part of a joint project with the Royal Canadian Mint, which was known to experiment with nickel-based compositions during the early 90s. The coin's origin remains unsolved. No mint worker has come forward. No documents have surfaced. The U.S. Mint, when contacted by major news outlets, refused to comment. This silence has only amplified speculation, with some believing the coin might be a relic of a failed secret program, others thinking it was an intentional one-off left as a legacy by a retiring engraver. Whatever the truth, the market responded in unprecedented ways. Collectors around the world began hoarding 1994 pennies, combing through pocket change, jars, and eBay lots in hopes of finding another. Some paid thousands for coins with minor anomalies, hoping to strike gold, literally and figuratively. Prices soared. Even common 1994 cents in mint condition began fetching hundreds of dollars. This wasn't just about the coin anymore. It became a movement, a symbol of discovery, a testament to how something as small as a cent could change lives. Treasure hunters, amateur collectors, and seasoned experts all dove into the hunt. Coin shows saw record attendance. Online forums exploded with side-by-side image comparisons, theories, and suspected sightings of similar coins. Grading services reported a surge in 1994 cent submissions, most of which were standard, but a few bore intriguing features: rotated dies, off-center strikes, and unusual hues. But none matched the mysterious $123 million coin in composition or design. It remains one of a kind. As the frenzy built, major numismatic organizations began issuing statements urging collectors to approach the matter with caution. Still, the legend of the $123 million cent had already taken on a life of its own. Documentaries were proposed, private investigators were hired by rival collectors, and an entire black market began forming around so-called high-weight 1994 cents. Rumors swirled that more coins from the same unknown batch might be hidden in forgotten bank rolls, sealed mint sets, or buried treasure caches passed down through families who had no idea what they possessed. Pawn shops saw record inquiries, and Coinstar machines were raided nightly by opportunists seeking overlooked change. It wasn't long before high-resolution scans of the known $123 million coin were leaked to the internet. These images, analyzed by both amateur enthusiasts and experts with backgrounds in digital forensics, revealed micropatterns on the coin's surface that some believed were intentional. The most discussed was a barely visible ridge along the bottom of Lincoln's shoulder that seemed to trace the shape of an eagle, a symbol not seen on the Lincoln since before 1959. This raised an entirely new theory, that the coin was part of an abandoned set redesign that never made it to circulation. Some experts at the Smithsonian weighed in, stating it was possible that experimental dies featuring new design motifs could have been created in secrecy, and this coin might be the only survivor of that trial. Adding to the mystery, collectors began reporting whispers of an internal U.S. Mint document known only as Project Allegiance, which supposedly detailed an effort to modernize U.S. currency ahead of the year 2000. Though never confirmed, this project was said to involve high-security materials, undisclosed alloy tests, and radical design shifts for coins smaller than a quarter. If true, the 1994 cent could very well be a remnant of this elusive initiative, an error, or perhaps a purposeful seed planted to test circulation reactions. But there was more. A second coin emerged, not identical, but remarkably similar. Discovered in a safety deposit box in Oregon, this penny bore the same year, 1994, and weighed 3.08 grams, just below the mystery coin, but still well above the standard. It shared the unusual tin nickel trace elements and exhibited what seemed to be a partial doubling on the reverse, though not as pristine and lacking the legendary ghost mark. It was quickly seized by interest groups hoping to validate their theories. It sold privately for $4.7 million, sparking renewed urgency in collectors and legitimizing the belief that the $123 million coin might not be alone. Now the race was on. The coin-collecting world entered what many began calling the cent boom. Prices on 1994 coins of all types began skyrocketing. Even average condition pieces in circulated grades were being sold in large lots to overseas buyers looking to capitalize on the hysteria. Coin roll hunters turned their attention almost entirely to 1994 boxes, and some YouTube channels based entirely around the hunt gained millions of followers almost overnight. People who had never paid attention to coins before were suddenly visiting antique stores, raiding piggy banks, and scouring online auctions in hopes of discovering the next multi-million-dollar coin. Meanwhile, advanced numismatic labs around the world launched deeper investigations into the metal content of 1994 cents. Using high-energy X-ray fluorescence spectrometry and laser ablation systems, researchers aimed to detect microvariations in metal that wouldn't be caught by the naked eye. It turned out that the U.S. Mint's alloy mixing process in the early 90s was not as uniform as previously believed. Trace anomalies were found in several years, but 1994 showed the highest frequency of deviations. Most were minor, variances in zinc distribution, slight differences in copper thickness, but a handful of 1994 cents appeared to share the unique signature of the famous coin. No others had the same weight or exact properties, but they were close enough to suggest that more pieces from the same experimental run might still be out there. This prompted a deeper dive into the Mint archives. Despite their tight security and reluctance to release classified materials, a Freedom of Information Act request filed by a determined numismatics professor revealed that between February and March of 1994, the Denver Mint experienced an unusual material shortage. Internal emails showed rushed alloy substitutions, late-night production sessions, and even an incident involving an unauthorized coin press that operated for 17 minutes outside standard oversight protocols. Though names and outcomes were redacted, the evidence painted a picture of chaos, exactly the kind of scenario that could lead to a mystery coin slipping into the wild. Collectors took this as validation. The 1994 cent wasn't a fluke, it was a result of genuine confusion, overlooked documentation, and a system too massive to notice the escape of a historic object. That's when prices truly exploded. A well-known collector in Singapore offered $80 million for the mystery coin in early 2023. Another collector in Tokyo, a billionaire known only by his pseudonym, Red Metal, offered $95 million and rights to display the coin in a private museum for 1 week each year. The owner remained anonymous, and the coin did not resurface again for over a year. Then came the exhibition. In early 2024, under heavy security and surrounded by bulletproof glass, the coin was publicly shown for 3 days at an undisclosed location in Zurich. Visitors were required to sign non-disclosure agreements, and photographs were forbidden, but attendees confirmed that the coin looked exactly like the scans leaked online, only more brilliant, more powerful in its detail, more magnetic in person than anyone had expected. The coin wasn't just rare, it was captivating. Some compared its aura to that of the Mona Lisa. There was an energy around it, an intangible force that seemed to make the room quieter when it was present. After the showing, the coin vanished once again into private custody. Its whereabouts are now unknown. Some say it was transported to a private vault in Monaco. Others insist it's in a museum beneath Tokyo, surrounded by other mysterious artifacts never seen by the public. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: the 1994 1-cent coin changed the coin collecting world forever. It turned a simple piece of pocket change into the most talked about object in numismatic history. And while the world may never know the full story of its origin, the legend continues to grow. Collectors everywhere now approach 1994 cents with reverence. Each coin is carefully examined under microscopes, weighed on precision scales, and studied for microscopic clues. Hundreds of lookalikes have been discovered, off-center strikes, partial clips, double dies, but none match the original in every detail. Still, hope remains. For in the vast sea of coins out there, another might exist. Another 1994 cent with the right weight, the mysterious ghost mint mark, the ultra-detailed Lincoln bust, and that impossible alloy composition. As the buzz around the 1994 1-cent coin reached unprecedented levels, it was only a matter of time before counterfeiters began to take notice. With the real coin now a global legend and worth a staggering $123 million, professional forgers saw an irresistible opportunity. Advanced replicas began to appear on the underground market. Made using 3D laser scanning, counterfeit dies, and even original U.S. copper zinc planchets smuggled from old mint stockpiles, these fake 1994 cents were nearly impossible to distinguish from the genuine article without deep metallurgical analysis. Some even matched the rare weight range of 3.11 grams and featured manipulated doubling on Lincoln's bust, ghost mint marks, and artificial patina to simulate age and wear. This wave of sophisticated fakes triggered a counter-response from grading institutions. PCGS, NGC, and Annex collaborated to create a confidential digital archive of microscopic features of the known coin. They also began using new anti-counterfeit technologies, such as ultraviolet reactive tagging and blockchain-backed digital ownership verification. Even so, a black market of unauthorized graders popped up in Southeast Asia, offering fake certificates and authentication reports designed to fool casual buyers. The average person, inspired by news of the coin's value, was increasingly vulnerable to these traps, losing thousands chasing dreams of instant fortune. In time, the U.S. Secret Service intervened, launching investigations into illegal minting operations in Nevada, Thailand, and Romania. Raids uncovered thousands of fake 1994 cents and fake dies, and led to dozens of arrests. Still, the fake coin industry grew. The world media picked up the story, turning it into a cultural sensation. Late-night talk shows joked about checking your change. News networks aired daily segments about coin collecting. Documentary crews from Netflix, BBC, and National Geographic competed for exclusive access to the coin story, some even staging reenactments of its discovery. The Discovery Channel's 5-part series, The One Cent Miracle, became a global hit, blending real footage, collector interviews, expert panels, and dramatic reenactments of the coin's path through history. TikTok influencers filmed themselves hunting through thousands of coins, and entire YouTube channels rebranded overnight to focus solely on the 1994 hunt. Social media hashtags like hashtag 123cent and hashtag MiraclePenny began trending globally. Collectors and investors saw massive returns. A coin fund based in Switzerland that bought up thousands of sealed 1994 mint sets early in the craze posted 800% gains in under 2 years. High-grade 1994 cent certified as MS68 red sold for upwards of $20,000, even without rare features, on the mere possibility that they were related to the original. The coin market entered a golden age. Coins that had sat dormant in valuation for decades suddenly surged in price as investors speculated on potential crossover discoveries. Coin dealers found themselves inundated with demand. Private vaulting services launched new numismatic packages, offering high-security climate-controlled environments tailored specifically for rare cent collections. But behind the glitz and profit, darker stories began to emerge. Collectors mortgaged homes to buy rolls of 1994 cents from online sellers. Families tore apart their savings, convinced they held the next fortune. One infamous case involved a man who spent over $400,000 acquiring thousands of 1994 pennies from vending machine companies, only to find nothing of value. Stories of obsession, financial ruin, and broken friendships began appearing alongside the tales of success. Psychological profiles of penny mania were published in journals, warning that the 1994 cent hunt had become more than a hobby. It was a mass psychological phenomenon. Still, the mystery endured. Who made the original coin? Why was it minted differently? And why did no one at the U.S. Mint ever come forward? An anonymous source, allegedly a retired mint worker, sent a letter to a major coin magazine in late 2024. In it, they claimed that in 1994, a batch of test planchets meant for foreign currency contracts was accidentally mixed with U.S. cent blanks and struck during a late-night maintenance shift. The foreign contract was never publicly disclosed, the letter claimed, because the coinage was being produced for a developing nation's failed economy, and political sensitivity demanded silence. Whether the letter was real or another layer of myth remains unknown, but it only added fuel to the legend. By early 2025, universities began teaching case studies on the 1994 cent. Economic professors used it as a model for studying speculative bubbles. Sociologists analyzed the cultural ripple effects. Psychologists investigated the cognitive biases that led so many to believe they, too, might uncover the next fortune in a penny jar. And in the world of high finance, hedge funds began to include rare coins, especially 1994 variants, as alternative investments. Meanwhile, the original $123 million coin remained hidden from the public eye. Though certified and verified, its physical presence had become more myth than reality. Every few months, new rumors emerged. That it was seen in a Dubai skyscraper. That it had been moved to a bunker in Finland. That the billionaire who purchased it had it encased in a diamond crystal coin holder buried beneath a chapel floor. None of these were ever confirmed. But it didn't matter. The coin had transcended physical space. It was now a symbol, a story, a beacon of possibility in the everyday. Children in schools now learn about the miracle coin. Museums create 3D replicas and interactive holographic displays of what a penny could be. Artists paint abstract interpretations of Lincoln, his gaze now seeming more mysterious than ever. And in the quiet moments of daily life, someone, somewhere, dumps out their change onto a kitchen table, picks up a humble 1994 penny, and holds it to the light, just in case. Because in a world where billion-dollar tech companies rise and fall overnight, where digital currency defines wealth, and where fortunes can be made in silence, the idea that a single cent, meant to be the lowest denomination of currency, so worthless that it's often discarded, could secretly be worth more than a Picasso, more than a Bugatti, more than a castle in Italy, still captures the imagination like nothing else. It is the perfect mystery, the perfect investment, the perfect accident. And maybe, just maybe, not an accident at all. What if someone at the mint knew exactly what they were doing? What if the 1994 cent wasn't a mistake, but a message, a marker, a test, a dare to look closer, to question everything we think we know about value, about worth, about legacy? Because after all, it was only ever a penny. Until it wasn't. The 1994 1-cent coin, now spoken of in reverent tones across auction floors, academic halls, and international media, had done more than just shatter price records. It had reshaped how the world viewed money itself. No longer was value something printed on a bill or assigned by a bank. It became something deeper, richer, almost spiritual. People began asking questions not just about coins, but about the objects around them. What else had been overlooked? What else had been labeled worthless, when, in reality, it held unimaginable value hidden in its story, its rarity, or its mystery? Entire generations grew up hearing tales of the miracle coin. Children played games pretending to dig through dirt and find copper treasures. Artists sculpted life-size versions of the cent, displaying them in galleries with the title, Redemption of the Forgotten. A novelist even wrote a dystopian thriller where civilization collapses, and the only thing capable of restoring order is a single, sacred coin, modeled, of course, after the 1994 cent. The book became a bestseller. Hollywood purchased the rights. A blockbuster film went into production, starring some of the most iconic names in the industry. Suddenly, the coin wasn't just history, it was culture. But while the world obsessed over the legend, the true collectors, the ones who lived and breathed numismatics long before the frenzy, began noticing something else. An evolution was happening. The collector's world had split into two: the seekers of the mythical and the guardians of the historical. The seekers were the dreamers, the speculators, the influencers showing off rolls of 1994 cents to millions of viewers. But the guardians? They were the ones asking deeper questions. What triggered the anomaly? Was it truly a minting mistake, or something by design? And if the 1994 cent was only the first, was there more? Some of the most respected numismatists in the world began combing through obscure U.S. Mint reports from the early 90s. One found a barely legible line item from 1993 referencing miscellaneous cent die testing, Denver facility, week 11. Another uncovered an email sent internally in March 1994 discussing the discontinuation of a low-volume, internal testing program for commemorative die treatment. The language was vague, coded, and bureaucratic, but to trained eyes, it was a trail. The possibility began to emerge that the 1994 cent wasn't just an accident. It was a prototype. The theory expanded. What if the U.S. Mint had been secretly testing different alloys, weights, and dies for a new generation of coins, and the 1994 cent was part of a trial batch? What if someone, perhaps out of pride, or rebellion, or simple error, allowed a few of those experimental coins to enter circulation? A second document found in a mint supplier's archived email spoke of warrant metal compatibility trials. involving zinc-tin-copper ratios. Approved for low visibility testing. That document was dated February 1994. The exact month the now legendary coin was believed to be struck. This triggered a new kind of treasure hunt, not for the coin, but for the story behind it. Historians and investigators turned their attention not to eBay listings or coin shows, but to former mint employees. Many were elderly, retired, or passed on, but a few remained alive, tucked away in quiet homes, unaware of the media storm their work had sparked. One man, a former maintenance technician at the Denver Mint, told a podcast host that in 1994, several bags of planchets had gone missing for nearly 2 days during a renovation of a blanking press. The event was never formally logged, but it was remembered by the older crew as the Copper Mystery. When asked if any of those blanks were ever used, the man smiled quietly and said, "Some presses ran that week when they weren't supposed to." That one line caused an earthquake in the collector world. Books were written, documentaries filmed, and then silence. The original coin, certified and photographed, had not been seen publicly since its brief Zurich showing. Many began to speculate whether it had been destroyed in a fire, lost in a plane crash, or locked in a vault so secret that even governments couldn't track it. Still others believed the owner had faked its disappearance to avoid taxes, theft, or pressure from museums. Whatever the truth, it only deepened the mythos. The less the coin was seen, the more people believed in it. It became something close to a holy relic. At the same time, a quiet revolution was happening at the U.S. Mint. For decades, the cent had been a financial burden, costing more to produce than it was worth. Yet now, because of one coin, interest in the penny had exploded. Educational tours of mint facilities were booked out for months. Merch sales skyrocketed. Public sentiment toward the penny shifted from apathy to nostalgia, from nuisance to national symbol. There was even a movement in Congress to create a commemorative series of cents modeled after the original 1994 design, though the proposal was ultimately rejected, partly out of respect, partly out of fear of tampering with legend. But the most profound change happened in the hearts of people. Ordinary folks, for the first time in years, began to care about coins. Children saved pennies in old coffee cans. Retirees visited coin shops looking for something more than bullion. Even hardened investors, once focused solely on stocks and crypto, now diversified their portfolios with numismatic assets. They weren't just buying coins, they were buying wonder. And the 1994 cent was the root of it all. Technology companies took note. A leading AI lab in California began developing coin detection algorithms trained on billions of coin images. The goal? To instantly detect rare anomalies using a smartphone camera. The software, named CopperEye, could analyze mint marks, weight estimates, and strike anomalies in less than a second. Within weeks of its launch, users began uploading images of their finds, and while none matched the miracle cent exactly, several close variants were discovered, enough to fuel a second wave of public excitement. This ushered in what some began calling the Second Copper Age. Museums launched exhibits dedicated entirely to pennies. Jewelry designers began incorporating real 1994 cents into high-end accessories. Luxury brands offered coin pendants, each paired with certificates of authenticity. And in the collector world, the original 1994 cent was no longer just a coin. It was a chapter in history, a revolution in copper, a message from the past telling us that value isn't about the number printed, but about the story behind it, and the story was still being written. Because as long as the original coin remained hidden, and as long as millions of 1994 cents still circulated quietly through old wallets, forgotten jars, and dusty dresser drawers, the possibility lingered. The next great find could happen tomorrow. At a gas station. In an abandoned house. In a coin jar passed down from grandfather to grandson. The legend breathed on every time a person picked up a penny and asked, "What if?" That's the power of the 1994 1-cent coin. It doesn't just sit in a vault. It moves through time. It hides in shadows. It appears in dreams. It inspires books, fuels obsessions, and drives people across oceans in search of a glint of copper in the dirt. And even now, after markets have been rocked, museums have been shaken, governments have been silent, and collectors have been forever changed, the coin remains unchallenged. One coin. 1 cent. One impossible miracle. And still, possibly, the beginning of something even bigger. Years passed. The frenzy surrounding the 1994 1-cent coin settled into something deeper, something quieter. It was no longer just about the chase. It became about what the coin represented. For some, it was the thrill of treasure hunting. For others, it was a symbol of destiny, proof that miracles could still be found in the smallest places. And for an emerging generation of thinkers, artists, and economists, it became a lens, a new way to see the world. Philosophers began citing the coin in lectures about value and perception. "The worth of a thing," one professor wrote, "is not in its substance, but in the story we wrap around it. The 1994 cent is not valuable because of what it is. It is valuable because of what we believe it to be." This idea, that belief itself creates value, began seeping into everything from currency theory to digital art markets. In an age where cryptocurrency and NFTs had redefined ownership and value, the humble penny had beaten them all. Not with tech, but with mystery. Meanwhile, whispers continued in the background. Numismatists never stopped looking. Not just for another 1994 coin with identical traits, but for answers. The mint remained silent. The U.S. Treasury refused interviews. Lawsuits were threatened but never filed. Investigators hit dead ends. Conspiracy theories grew like vines. Some claimed the coin wasn't American at all, that it had been struck using stolen dies in a rogue minting facility in South America, and later swapped into U.S. circulation as part of an elaborate art performance hoax. Others insisted the coin was minted deliberately by a secret branch of the U.S. government as part of an experiment in economic psychology. Neither theory could be proven, but neither could be ruled out. And then came a new twist. In late 2025, during a routine archival scan at a museum in Boston, a sealed envelope was discovered tucked behind a forgotten 1990s mint briefing folder. Inside was a set of high-resolution photographs, a typed memo, and a small round indentation pressed into the paper, consistent with the dimensions of a penny. The memo described coin series C94E and referred to a short run of experimental strikes authorized by an unnamed agency for metallurgical study. The tests were reportedly conducted under contract secrecy, with a note that read, C94E series not to exceed 5 units. Final batch to be destroyed post-analysis. 5 units, and yet only one has surfaced. Or have others already been found, misidentified, dismissed, hiding in plain sight? The memo sparked a quiet panic in collector circles. 5 coins. That changed everything. It meant 4 more could still be out there. For coins possibly sitting in pocket change, passed from hand to hand, hiding in forgotten drawers or storage lockers. Auctions surged again. Prices jumped overnight. The hunt was back on. But this time, it wasn't for a mystery. It was for a pattern. A confirmation. If one more matching coin could be found and certified, the legend would shift from anomaly to series, and the implications would be world-changing. In preparation, coin grading agencies upgraded their facilities, training new staff to handle what they called Tier 1 alert identifications, a classification reserved solely for potential matches to the 1994 cent anomaly. A private research center in Switzerland even built a machine designed to test the electromagnetic fingerprint of any coin submitted, looking for the exact metallurgical resonance of the original miracle cent. The project cost $14 million. It was funded entirely by anonymous donors, but through it all, the original coin remained untouched, hidden, protected. Its owner, still unknown, never stepped forward. And in a way, that was fitting. Because this wasn't just about a person. It was about an idea. The idea that something worthless could become priceless. That a single cent could spark revolutions, investigations, art, wariness, belief, and a new economic mythology. In 2026, a university in Japan launched a course titled The Coin Paradox, The Economics of Myth and Memory, using the 1994 cent as its centerpiece. That same year, a tech billionaire commissioned a sculpture of the coin, a 14-foot-tall copper monument built using 1 million real pennies welded into the shape of the original. It was installed in a private park with no signage, no fanfare, no plaque. When asked why he did it, the billionaire said, "Because it reminds us that everything small holds the potential to change the world." Religions even weighed in. A sect in South America began using the coin's image in their ceremonies, calling it the divine copper, a sign from the heavens that humility holds power. They believed the person who possessed the coin had been chosen by fate, and that whoever found the second would bring balance to the world. It sounds like fantasy. But in the wake of all that had happened, who could say what was real anymore? Governments responded cautiously. The U.S. Treasury Department issued a rare public statement confirming that, to date, no official record exists of any authorized or unauthorized strike matching the known characteristics of the so-called 1994 cent anomaly. It was a careful denial. Not absolute. Not definitive. Just careful. Designed to calm markets, dissuade speculation, and yet leave just enough ambiguity to protect what might lie beneath. That ambiguity became part of the legend. People no longer just believed in the coin. They believed in what it suggested. That maybe the world was full of invisible wonders. That maybe, beneath every layer of normal life, lay something extraordinary, waiting to be uncovered. The coin was a metaphor now. For chance. For belief. For the unexpected magic hiding in the mundane. And still, the search went on. A man in Argentina claimed to find one, but it was debunked. A woman in Canada sold her house to purchase what she believed was coin number 2, only to discover it had been altered post-mint. Lawsuits followed. Meanwhile, underground collectors formed private clubs, secret societies, who believed they could triangulate the location of the other coins using shipment logs, mint records, and even lunar cycles. Their forums were encrypted. Their meetings held in libraries and abandoned banks. All in pursuit of copper salvation. And what of the final fate of the coin? Some believe it will never be seen again. That it will be buried with its owner, entombed in a vault sealed for eternity. Others believe it will return, perhaps at the end of a great auction, or as a gift to the nation, a gesture of final unity in a divided age. Still others claim that the coin's fate doesn't matter anymore, that it has done its work, that it has made the world look closer, believe harder, and dream again. 1 coin. 1 cent. 1 symbol. And perhaps, somewhere, even now, another is waiting. In a basement. A glove box. A box in the attic. Or in the palm of someone who hasn't yet realized that they hold history in their hand.